Okay, we're starting a brand new unit. This unit is going to be a unit on energy that we know as electricity. Before we can start with electricity, we need to know a little bit about atoms. So we're going to read a little bit from your textbook. This is found on page F6 in your textbook. And we also have a song to go with it. We're going to listen to our song first, listen to your classmates sing the song, and then we're going to talk a little bit more about the song.
The Addams family, the teeny and the tiny, much smaller than a beanie, they never can be seen. The Addams family, they're so small, they're round like a ball, they make up the air, they're everywhere, you see them at all. Together they make gases and liquids like molasses, and all the solid masses. The Addams family, they're so small, they're round like a ball. They make up the air, they're everywhere, you can see them at all. Neutrons can be found where protons hang around, electrons they surround. The Addams family, they're so small, they're round like a ball. They make up the air, they're everywhere, you can see them at all.
Good job. Okay, we are now going to read a little bit about some of those things that they were singing about, so you can learn the song as well, and you can understand what the song really is going to have to do with electricity. So you're going to follow along with me. You can either use your textbook or you can read along with me on this film right here. So here we go. Two kinds of charges. Remember that matter is made up of particles that have mass and volume. Particles of matter also have a property called electric charge. A particle can have a positive charge, a negative charge, or no charge at all. I'd like to stop there for 1 second and talk about that. Charged particles that an atom, which is what we're talking about, that has a charge, has a special name for it, and that is called an ion. An ion is an atom that is charged. You might want to find that definition on the sheet that you have to fill out and fill that part out now, because that'll help you on your worksheet that you have later so you can remember this. So you need to know that the vocabulary word we just learned is ion. An ion is a name for a charged atom. So we now know that atoms can have three charges. It could have a positive charge. We use a plus sign to show that. A negative charge, we use a minus sign to show that. And we're going to talk about a neutral charge in a little while. So let's continue reading. We're right here in our second paragraph. Matter in an object normally has equal numbers of positive and negative charges. Particles. It's neutral. So in other words, if the atom has the same number of positive as negative charges, then we call it neutral. So it can be positive, negative, or neutral, depending on the number of charges the atom has. We're going to go back to our reading now. Rubbing two objects together, however, can move negative particles from one object to another, or to the other. That is exactly what happened in the investigation. We haven't done that investigation yet. We're going to be doing that tomorrow in class. You'll enjoy it. The result was that the number of positive charges on each balloon was different from the number of negative charges. Charge is a measure of the extra positive or negative particles that an object has. Rubbing gave one object an overall positive charge, and it gave the other an overall negative charge. The charge that stays on an object is called static electricity. There you go, electricity. Static means not moving. Even though charges moved to get to the objects, once there, they stayed. And that's really going to be the idea of our first lesson, is going to be about static electricity. But before you can understand that, you have to understand what moving charges are and how atoms get charged, in other words, in ways to move. If you look down here at the bottom of the page, right through here, you're going to notice a couple of atoms here. You're going to notice here that there are how many positive charges? Let's count them. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 positive. And how many negative? 1, 2, 3, 4 negative. Which means this is an ion because it has either a positive or a negative charge. We know it's a positive charge, and the reason is because it has more pluses than it does minuses. So this is a positively charged ion. Now let's look at the negative charge one. Well, let's count them. How many positives are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Again, 8 positive. How many negatives? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 negative, which makes this a negatively charged ions. So we're going to keep moving on and get some more information. We're going to try something hopefully that'll make it a little bit easier for you to understand. All right. An inventor, really not an inventor, a person that was obviously a teacher or something, developed a story called the Addams Family. It's to help kids learn about Addams. So we're going to kind of read this story about the Addams Family. It's kind of silly, but it will help you understand this even better. So let's keep going and find out about the Addams. Okay, here's the Addams Family story. All right. Again, read with me. I'm going to stop in the middle of reading and draw some pictures on the side to help you understand even more. So here we go. The Addams Family story. In the center of Matterville, there is a place called the Nucleus Arcade. If we were to draw that, well, you're going to draw Matterville, right? And so here is the center of Matterville, and it's known as the Nucleus Arcade. Well, the nucleus is the center of an atom, so that's the reason they're calling it the Nucleus Arcade. Where two members of the Addams family like to hang out. Perky Patty Proton, like her sister, is quite large with a huge smile and eyes that sparkle. Patty is always very happy and has a very positive personality. Nerdy Nelda Neutron is large like Patty, but she has a boring, flat mouth with eyes with zero expression. Her family is very apathetic, which means they really don't have a big feeling either way, either positive or negative feelings, or they're not either happy or sad. They're just very neutral and neutral about everything. Patty, Nelda, and their sisters spend all their time at the arcade. So in our atom here that we have, our nucleus, we can draw where Patty and Nelda hang out. They hang out in the nucleus. So we have Patty, and if you look right here, Patty is positive. So she has a positive charge, and she is a proton. Protons, I'm just having a hard time with my pen today. Protons are positively charged atoms inside, or particles inside of atoms. So every time we see a positive, really that's a proton. Every time you see a 0, which is a neutral charge, that's really a neutron. And both protons and neutrons can be found in the nucleus. So now we have the next particle that we're going to talk about. So let's continue reading here at the second paragraph. Around the Nucleus Arcade, you will find a series of roadways that are used by another member of the Addams family. So now we're going to go and draw our roadways. I'm just going to draw 1 and 2 there. All right, and these are roadways that go around the Nucleus Arcade. All right, let's go back to our reading. Enraged, which means really mad, Elliot Electron is who's going to hang out there. Elliot races madly around the arcade on his bright red chrome-plated Harley-Davidson. He rides so fast that no one can be sure where he is at any time. Elliot is so much smaller than Patty and Nelda, and he is always angry because these bigger relatives will not let him in the arcade. He has a frown on his face and eyes that are squinted with anger and a very negative attitude. Well, if we come and look here at our picture, we know that the name of this negative charge is electron, and he is negative. And where does he live? He does not live in the nucleus. He hangs out flying around the arcade, and he's smaller. So here we go. We have an atom, right? We have positive protons and neutrons in the nucleus. Negative, well, neutrons are negative. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. Neutrons are neutral. They don't have any charge at all, excuse me. So we have positive protons in the nucleus, neutral neutrons in the nucleus, and then running around the arcade on the outside are negative electrons. Now, this would be a charged atom because we would call it an ion. Because why? If you count the number of electrons, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6. I may have drawn one another, but let's just count 6. There's 6 negative electrons. How many protons are there? 1, 2. There are 2 protons. So, because there's more electrons than protons, we're going to say this atom has a negative charge. Okay, at this point in time, you should be able to pause this video and answer the name of the charge of each particle. You should also be able to write the charge of each atom. So at this point in time, you have done every part of this sheet that you have to go home except for the bottom, describe an atom. So hit pause now and go ahead and do those items. Okay, we're going to end this flip video today in our little lesson today with the song that we started with. I have the words so you can follow along because they're really describing an atom, the Addams family. It talks about all the parts of an atom. It tells where neutrons and protons are. It talks about where the electrons are in an atom. And it talks about what they look like. Both the first verse, how small they are, and then the chorus talks about what they're made of, and the second verse talks about that atoms make up everything around us. So we're going to go ahead and listen to that song and sing along with it.
The Addams family, the teeny and the tiny, much smaller than a beanie, they never can be seen. The Addams family, they're so small, they're round like a ball, they make up the air, they're everywhere, you see them at all. Together they make gases and liquids like molasses and all the solid masses. The Addams family, they're so small, they're round like a ball. They make up the air, they're everywhere, you see them at all. Neutrons can be found where protons hang around, electrons they surround. The Addams family, they're so small, they're round like a ball. They make up the air, they're everywhere, you see them at all.
Good job. Okay, they did a good job, and we're going to sing this song again at school tomorrow. It's a fun song to sing, and I think you'll like it. There is a moral to this story, and we're going to go somewhere next, and I want you to think about positive and negative charges being opposites. What happens when you have 2 opposite charges? And then what would happen if you had 2 atoms that had positive charges? Are they opposite? No, they're not the opposite. They're alike, right? I wonder what any of this has to do with electricity. That's what we're going to be learning about next. So get ready to come to school tomorrow. We're going to be doing that investigation that was in your textbook. I think you're going to like it. I'm going to prove to you that I can move those electrons from one place to the other, and I think you're going to have fun doing it. So see you tomorrow. Finish your page and begin describing your atom.